Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good afternoon, Facebook family. Welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor. Faithful guidance, servant on a healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan+Post. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. And it is time for me to wash the dreads and tighten the dreads. The time has finally come. So today I want to talk to you guys about tantrums, and what did I say the title of this episode was? I forgot that quick. Something about outbursts and tantrums and spitting mad 2-year-olds. And actually there wasn't no spitting mad 2-year-olds. There's a spitting mad 14-year-old who literally was 2 years old. And this, hello there, Tracy. So, oh my gosh, it just reminded me I had an email from Australia, of all places. Some investigators, some police officer doing an investigation with some family, and I need to reply because I offered my services. So here's the thing. Last night I was watching three of my these teen boys, three of them, staying here in our treatment home, right in our respite home. And they were, hello, Frank King, and hello, Mimi. They decided to sleep outside last night. And so one of them, you know, he has a hard time. He has a hard time with the peer stuff. Hello, Ashley D. And so they were outside putting together, you know, he wanted to sleep in the tent. They just wanted to sleep on the ground, under a canopy. Well, they decided that they were going to do a canopy. And, hey, good morning, Chrissy. And so they started building that, and he wanted to do the tent, but the tent's like a 10-person tent, and there's only 3 of them, and they didn't want to put up the tent, and so he pulled all the stuff out of the tent because he was going to put it up, and then obviously it was really overwhelming, and they didn't want to help him, and so he just had a meltdown, and it was interesting watching it because he literally just sat on the ground with his legs folded, just like wailing like a 2-year-old. Like literally like a 2-year-old would do. And I tell you guys this when I talk about emotional regression. Hello there, Leslie. Good to see you as always. In times of stress, we regress. We regress to an earlier emotional age. Hello there, Maureen. When you are stressed, you have the capacity. I mean, research says some adults in times of stress have the ability to revert to infancy. So you deal with some adults who get stressed out and literally start acting like babies. And I see a lot of 2-year-old behavior, especially with teenagers. And this was, you know, he regressed. He was 2 years old. And so I think I may have stuck my head out the back, and he was mad because they wouldn't help him. So we kind of navigated through the system. He came stomping in, and you know, I think he went upstairs and yada 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 bada bada. And I don't attend to any of that stuff because he's in his feelings. In times of stress, our thinking becomes confused and distorted, and our short-term memory is suppressed. I don't need to attend to it. I only need to offer support. So he goes up, and about 3-4 minutes later, he comes down, and he goes back outside. He's feeling better. He goes back outside. They start getting along. They start putting the canopy up together, and I said, hey, we need to put the tent up. Well, they get overwhelmed with the prospect of putting the tent up, so I go out, and I help them put the tent back in the container, and we get it all put up. So they work on the canopy that they're going to sleep under, and so finally it's done, and they've all got their sleeping bags, and so they're out there, and finally, hey Carrie, hey Missy, and then it was about 9:00 last night. It was about 8:30. It was just getting to dusk, and I hear another little outburst. Yeah, he's mad. Oh gosh, one of the kids threw some dirt or something and they got on his pillow. He's mad. He come fussing in, cussing, and they're cussing back and forth. And I'm like, hey, we're done. We're done. So he comes in. He's mad. And he asked me if I'd wash his blanket because he had his blanket from outstairs. And I shook it out for him and told him to turn it over. And he went upstairs and he went to bed. So they stayed out. The other two stayed out and pretty much slept out there. They didn't even wake up till 10:30. He was up at like 8:30 this morning. And seemed a little agitated. And I'm just like checking in with him. And, what do you need, buddy? You seem a little agitated. And so we kind of went through a little process, no big deal. And so earlier today I had a visit with one of my parents. And so I got back. Sarah, our house coach here, was with the three boys. And so when I came in, they were doing whatever, doing their thing. And so he was sitting over on the floor and the other one was sitting on the couch. I guess they were on one of their video games where you can join Minecraft or something. But anyway, he was mad because the other kid wouldn't let him in. And oh my gosh. And then the other kid says, I don't want to let him in because he's doing this. And he was screaming, let me in. And I'm like, guys, if it's this stressful, we're not going to do electronics. And he's like, let me in. So at this point, he's regressed. I mean, he's like, ah! And I finally said to one of the boys, I said, turn it off. I stood there. He turned it off. I said to him, turn it off. He turns it off and wow, man, he just rips. Oh my gosh, he's yelling and cussing and he's so mad. And I'm just like, dang, buddy, this got you all worked up. And the other kid's just sitting there and Sarah's in the kitchen, just kind of checking it out. And he goes upstairs and he's, yelling, and I said, well, we love you, and hell, I don't even know what I said, just words of affirmation and kindness, and we're sorry you're having a hard time, buddy, and it's gonna be okay. And he's yelling about how much he hates us and blah blah blah. So this goes on for about 2 minutes, and so then I walk upstairs. And he's sitting on his bed, and again, he's a 2-year-old. He's not 2, he's 14, but he's a 2-year-old, and I see it. But here's what's important, and this is what gets a lot of parents. His 2-year-old energy is expressed in a 14-year-old body, so the energy, you've got to start listening. If you're paying attention to yourself, you pay attention to what your nervous system does. And his energy is big energy, and he's not even a big kid. It's big energy. And a lot of parents, that is threatening. It's the energy that's threatening. It's the energy, it's the vibration that jacks up the amygdala. And so I'm just observing the fact that, wow, he's got a big little energy. And so I go in and I sit down, not on the bed. I sit down on a little chair he's got in his room, and he's mad, and I'm just talking to him real calmly, it's going to be okay. And he tosses some plastic toy down, and so I just kind of walk over and I pick it up, and he says, put that down, that's mine. And I just set it back down on the counter, and on his little nightstand, and I sat back on the couch, and I'm just being quiet at this point. So he starts to go into feelings. Oh, bigger feelings. He's crying and bigger feelings and some grieving going on. He's just feeling all these feelings. He's like, get out of here. I don't want you in here. Get out of here. I don't want you in here. And so I got up and I said, okay, well, I'm here if you need me. And I just gently, slowly just walked downstairs. And as I'm going out, he's pulling the blankets over his head, and he's laying back, and the world's ending, and it's terrible. And he gets really quiet, and this is all over the span of literally 5 minutes. And I'd come down, and I'd just kind of go on about whatever we were doing. I mean, the other boys start doing what they're doing, and Sarah's doing what she's doing, and before I know it, he's downstairs, and he's outside, and they're all, kind of fooling around with their bikes, and it just kind of dissipated and just moved on. So it's this major tantrum that just had to work itself through. Most parents get hijacked by that energy. And when they get hijacked by that energy, see, here's what I know. Here's what I know. I know that whatever's going on with him in that moment is the byproduct of years of inability to safely express his feelings. It's like no containment for his feelings, no safety for his feelings. So we provide this ability for him to have this big emotional outburst. He throws a couple plastic things, no one's going to die. And then it just goes away. And so what I see happening, and I saw this happen with one of my kids the other day, a kid that normally, when he gets hijacked, runs off the rails. Well, I just watched him pull it back together. And I know that's just a byproduct of repetitions of having this emotional arousal. See, a lot of times parents don't realize that. They get hung up on kids yelling or kids cursing or kids throwing things. And that's what you want to focus on. You want to focus on the fact that they're yelling. You want to focus on the fact that they're cussing. You want to focus on the fact that they broke their own freaking toys. Not even your stuff. It's their stuff. And then it stops. See, when you get focused on that, you're focused on the wrong things. I said years ago, ignore the behavior, don't ignore the child. Ignore the behavior, don't ignore the child. Tend to the stress, tend to the fear, tend to the overwhelm. Tend to the emotional regression when you can see it. And you work that process through, and it looks completely different. Lots of kids looks completely different. Just like Annalise says, she has a 6-year-old, adopted 2.5. So that tells me who he pees in containers or on the floor when anxiety gets high. Well, that's, again, he's going back to a stage of when he was neglected. He's going back to a stage of when he was abused. And that's when he's stressed. He goes back to those blueprints in his brain when he doesn't feel safe. Children misbehave when they don't feel safe, and it doesn't have anything to do with your home. It doesn't have anything to, oftentimes it doesn't have anything to do with your home. Oftentimes it doesn't have anything to do with your existing relationship. It has to do with their past blueprints. They are pursuing an old neural pathway, and it's autopilot. And unless I give that child a different experience in the presence of that pathway, they're going to keep doing it. And if I reaffirm and strengthen that pathway by creating more stress, by creating more negativity, it's going to just strengthen that same pathway. But if I give them a different experience, that's what starts to build up in the brain, a different experience. And then what happens over time with enough of that repetition, the child literally, the tantrums start to diminish. And in the moments of frustration, they start to be able to pause and they start to be able to choose a different pathway. That's the process of healing. And it doesn't have to take a long period of time, but it is extremely powerful because energy is very powerful. When we can maintain our own energy and not get hijacked ourselves, and we are the world's best at getting hijacked. Adults, we get hijacked and we act like we're calm and we're actually freaking losing it. Well, we send that vibration to our children all the time. So that becomes very important. So we worked it through. The kids, eventually they said they want to go swimming. I said, are you guys sure you're not too stressed out? Because I'm happy for you to stay home because I don't want you to get too stressed out. And Sarah gets stressed out and they're like, no, we're good. Swimming's fun. We'll have a good time. Okay, go swimming for a couple hours. And it's good. And then he'll come back and he'll probably, after that, today, that was pretty high level. He'll probably have a fine evening, but he may not. He just may be agitated, and who knows what's at the root of that brain that's getting worked through. But that's the key. Every time he has an outburst, he's working through something, even though he may not always know what it is. So there you have it. There you go, Annalisa. Boom! Back to school anxiety, absolutely. And back to school anxiety isn't about back to school. Back to school anxiety is about transition. Back to school anxiety is about loss. Back to school anxiety is about abandonment. Back to school anxiety is about a life and experience long before you ever came along. That's what we have to think about, guys. That's what I really work to help you guys see, that it's not what you think you're seeing. It's about a whole other reality that exists in your child's brain. And that's what you have to learn to attend to. You don't need to know the specific. You just need to know that there's an emotional experience that's occurring that has oftentimes nothing to do with what's going on right now and everything to do with what your child has done in the past. Mary says, my 15-year-old boy does this. I just walk around behind him as he destroys things and ask him if he needs any help with anything. Let me know if you need more or if I can help. It takes him about 20 minutes and the rest of the kids go somewhere out of his way. Eventually it runs its course. It's not easy for sure. It is not easy. Thank you, Christopher. It is not easy, but that repetition is the key. And that is what your child's going to carry with them into the future. See, you're planting the seeds for the future. All right, I have rattled on way too long today. I have got an appointment to get to. Hey, remember, in any given situation, we always have two choices. We can continue to react from the same blueprints of stress, fear, and overwhelm, or we can stop, slow down, take 3 to 10 deep breaths, and choose love. I hope you'll choose love in every possible moment. Hey there, Keisha Watson. I see you, girl. Big Papa loves you. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you tomorrow.